In 1997, a quiet man in Washington state claimed his land held a pit that swallowed everything, livestock, appliances, even sound, without ever hitting bottom. Just silence. Weeks later, unmarked helicopters hovered. Agents arrived. The land was seized, and Mel Waters vanished. Was this a natural anomaly or something else entirely? Let's dive in. Mel Waters wasn't a scientist or a soldier, and he wasn't chasing fame. He was just an ordinary man living near Ellensburg, Washington, raising dogs, working odd jobs, and keeping to himself. But in the early hours of February 21st, 1997, everything changed when he called into Coast to Coast AM, the late-night radio show hosted by Art Bell. His voice was shaky but clear as he described a strange hole on his property, saying, "The hole has always been there, but I've never found the bottom." According to Mel, the pit was unlike anything anyone had seen. No known instrument could measure its depth. Locals had dumped everything from trash to dead animals into it for decades, yet it never filled. There was no echo, no splash, just silence. Even more disturbing, animals were visibly afraid of it. Dogs refused to approach and birds wouldn't fly overhead, as if nature itself rejected whatever was below. Mel didn't call to stir panic. He simply said, "I just want someone to explain this thing. I'm not trying to cause trouble." Despite coming before the age of viral content, that broadcast spread rapidly, shared through cassette tapes, burned CDs, and eventually re-uploaded across YouTube, where it's now amassed more than 3.7 million views. Overnight, Mel became a cult figure, not by choice but because he had tapped into something the public wasn't meant to know. Then came the consequences. Within weeks, unmarked vehicles began appearing near his land. Helicopters circled overhead. His phone line made clicking sounds. And finally, government agents arrived. What began as a mystery quickly turned into a classified threat. According to the American Psychological Association, people are more likely to believe in cover-ups when the source is an ordinary person with nothing to gain. Mel wasn't selling books or seeking attention. He even turned down money from the media. All he wanted were answers. And perhaps that was his greatest mistake. But long before Mel picked up the phone, the land had already spoken through generations of fear, warnings, and silence that pointed to the very same hole. Generations earlier, before fences, before maps, local Native American tribes, including the Yakima and Colville, spoke of a place they feared. They didn't call it Mel's Hole. They called it the Devil's Hole, a cursed place avoided for centuries. Elder William Morningcloud, in a 1981 oral testimony archived by the Northwest Tribal Archives, described it as a site where unnatural forces stirred. Hunters avoided it. Children were warned never to go near it. Even the animals, they said, kept their distance. These weren't ghost stories for entertainment. They were protective warnings passed down through oral tradition. The consistency of those accounts mattered. Some stories spoke of objects thrown into the hole that vanished without a sound. Others claimed birds would drop lifeless if they flew overhead. No formal investigations ever took place, but the fear remained constant. According to a 2023 report from the University of Washington, nearly 78% of Pacific Northwest tribal legends include references to forbidden land, especially those marked by silence and the absence of wildlife, and two recurring features of Mel's Hole. Even the name Devil's Hole was a reluctant label, more warning than title. Some elders believed it was a thin place, a tier between physical and spiritual worlds. Something didn't just lie beneath, it watched. Whether symbolic or literal, tribal fear came long before Mel Waters ever spoke, and that fear aligned uncannily with what he later described. The warnings passed down through tribal stories weren't forgotten, they were dismissed. As new generations settled near Monastash Ridge, old fears were replaced by rural routine. The mysterious hole became a dumping ground, known casually as the bottomless pit. Locals threw in everything: broken furniture, busted televisions, rusted tools, even farm equipment. Yet something always felt off. In a 2006 interview, resident Glenn McRae said, "No matter what you threw in, you never heard it land. Is and were." There was no echo, no crash, only silence. Farmers reportedly used the pit to dispose of livestock, horses, cows, sheep. Their bodies vanished without odor or decay. But what unsettled people most wasn't the dead, it was the living. Dogs refused to approach it. Wild animals also stayed away. No insects, no nests, no birds. That silence matched reports from the National Environmental Observation Network, which noted in 2023 that just 0.3% of surveyed U.S. land shows complete absence of bird activity during spring migration. Though MEL'S Hole was never officially surveyed, the area's reputation as a natural dead zone predates any scientific review. Was it toxic air? Radiation? A buried threat? Locals didn't have the tools or the clearance to find out. Instead, stories piled up. A bed full of scrap metal gone. A refrigerator gone. A hunting dog vanished. No sound, no return, no explanation. This wasn't just a pit. It was a place that erased noise, life, and proof. And the more it was used, the less anyone understood it. But as the stories grew stranger and the silence deeper, Mel decided it was time to stop wondering and start measuring. Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. The hole had swallowed everything: appliances, livestock, even entire legends. But Mel Waters wasn't chasing stories. He wanted answers. Was it a sinkhole? A collapsed mine? A rare geological formation? No one had ever measured its depth. So Mel took it into his own hands. Using fishing line, a 1-pound lead weight, and a homemade pulley system, he began lowering the line into the pit. 100 feet passed. Then 500. Then 1,000. Still no bottom. By the end, Mel had dropped more than 80,000 feet of line, yet still no bottom. To compare, the Kola Super Deep borehole in Russia, the world's deepest human-made shaft, reaches only about 7.6 miles. It took nearly 2 decades to drill and had to stop due to extreme underground heat. If Mel's measurements were even close to accurate, his pit was more than twice as deep, formed not by machines but by nature. Still searching for clues, Mel ran a second test. He attached a roll of Lifesavers candy to the line. If the hole contained moisture, the candy would dissolve. But when he reeled it back up, it was completely dry. According to the United States Geological Survey, natural cave shafts rarely exceed 2,000 feet in depth. Anything deeper typically collapses or fills with rock, groundwater, or magma. Yet Mel's hole stayed open. Mel's fishing line test didn't just confirm suspicions, it ignited a wildfire of interest. Once a quiet caller on a late-night radio show, Mel Waters quickly became the center of a mystery that refused to fade. Within days of his coast-to-coast AM appearance, letters poured in and calls came nonstop, as journalists, skeptics, paranormal researchers, and conspiracy theorists all demanded access to the site. As independent investigator Alex Rinley noted in 2003, he became a beacon for anyone who believed there's more happening beneath the surface. Online forums erupted, blogs dubbed it America's Abyss, and fringe communities labeled it the mouth of the unknown. The phrase Mel's Hole began trending across message boards like Above a Top Secret and Unexplained Mysteries. By late 2024, search interest spiked again, fueled by Reddit speculation and viral TikTok content. Curiosity hadn't died, it had only evolved. But with attention came consequences. It started subtly: unmarked vehicles near his land, strangers walking too slowly past his property, a persistent hum on the phone line. "I thought maybe it was coincidence," Mel said in his second call to Coast AM. But it got harder to ignore. This wasn't paranoia, it was pressure. A report from the Government Oversight Project, based on recently declassified documents, revealed that over 82% of federal land interventions since 1990 were justified using vague terms like public safety or environmental security, often with key details redacted. Then came the men in hazmat suits. No explanations, just orders to leave. What started as personal curiosity had triggered something larger. Something with the power to seize land, silence voices, and erase lives. "I didn't know what I was dealing with," Mel admitted. "I just knew I couldn't talk about it anymore." This was no longer just a hole in the earth. It was about control. If you were Mel, would you keep digging? Or walk away while you still could? Let us know what you would have done in the comments. As the public's curiosity intensified, Mel Waters returned to his land, back to the pit that had sparked a nationwide mystery. But instead of the familiar landscape, he found a lockdown. The area was now heavily guarded, surrounded by surveillance towers, military trucks, and men in hazmat suits standing where his fence once stood. When Mel tried to approach, he was blocked immediately. No names, no badges, only a blunt command: take the money and leave, or we'll find something to lock you up. The explanation they offered was a supposed military aircraft crashed nearby, but Mel knew the terrain. There had been no wreckage, no smoke, no noise, no mention on local news, and nothing picked up on police scanners. "I could feel it in my gut," he later said in his final recorded interview. "But they wanted me gone. And they didn't care how." Within days, the offer came: $250,000 a year for the rest of his life, if he agreed to leave the country and never return. If he refused, one agent warned that they could easily discover a drug lab in his basement, a move that would send him away for decades. Mel wasn't looking for a fight, he wanted the truth, not enemies. So he took the deal. And just like that, he disappeared. No final call to Coast AM, no messages to friends. One day he was part of the story, the next, gone without a trace. Public records from the Washington State Department of Revenue, accessed in March 2025, confirmed that all files tied to Mel's property near Manastash Ridge were officially sealed under federal jurisdiction just 3 months after his final broadcast. Since then, the government has never made a statement. Not once. After Mel Waters accepted the government's deal, many thought the story had ended. But what followed unsettled those who knew him far more than the pit ever did. Mel didn't just disappear, he was erased. His phone line went dead. Letters were returned unopened. His house, once lived in, wasn't abandoned, it was scrubbed. Not a single personal item remained. It was as if someone had deliberately wiped his existence clean. Locals who tried to visit the area near Manastash Ridge were met with new fencing, warning signs, and in some cases armed guards. But then the digital trail began to vanish too. Online researchers spotted something strange in late 2003. Satellite maps from both Google Earth and NASA's Earth Data Portal showed a specific rectangular zone at exactly where Mel's land had been blurred out. It wasn't cloud cover. It wasn't low resolution. It was intentional pixelation, the same kind used to mask military installations or sensitive infrastructure. As of January 2025, that area remains censored across multiple public satellite databases. Despite numerous Freedom of Information Act requests, no official reason has been given. Researchers attempting to trace MEL'S property records in Cadiz County ran into a wall. The name Mel Waters no longer matched any land ownership files. Some documents were missing. Others were marked classified. Yet Mel had paid taxes on that land. He'd called into national radio shows giving detailed directions. But suddenly there was nothing. And as of 2025, there is still no death certificate, no recorded property transfer, and no explanation for the ongoing satellite censorship over Manastash Ridge. To this day, the federal government has never issued a single comment. In the year 2002, 5 years after Mel's final broadcast, a small team of independent explorers set out to find what the government seemed determined to hide. They weren't funded or sanctioned. Just a group of documentary filmmakers, local investigators, and curious researchers armed with old transcripts, printed maps, and a shared belief that Mel's hole hadn't been destroyed, just buried. One of them was Elias Mercer, a geology student from Spokane who had first read about the story on an internet forum in 2000. In a 2023 interview with the Unresolved Files podcast, he said, "Everyone told me I was wasting my time. But I felt like something was still out there waiting to be found." The group spent weeks searching the forest near Manastash Ridge. Trails had vanished, satellite images were blurred, and GPS signals failed repeatedly. But after cross-referencing Mel's broadcast details with accounts from longtime residents, they narrowed their search to a quiet patch of land near an abandoned service road. It looked like nothing, just a shallow dip in the ground surrounded by unnatural silence. Then they started digging. After clearing through soft soil and compact earth, they struck something unexpected, a ring of precisely stacked stone, smooth, circular, and unlike anything nearby. The temperature dropped. The air grew still, but no one celebrated. The moment felt heavy, like something had been disturbed. They stood in silence, staring into the void. The same silence Mel had described. No wildlife, no wind, just a dark, watching stillness. For a moment, no one moved, each wondering if they had just uncovered the truth or made a serious mistake. If you were standing over that silent pit with the air turning cold, would you keep digging or walk away? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel to discover more interesting things. They had found it, just as Mel Waters described, a smooth, stone-lined pit hidden in the Washington wilderness. This time the team came prepared, equipped with a reinforced steel cable, a high-resolution 4K camera, infrared sensors, and a live thermal monitor. Their goal was clear: to document what Mel had only described. As the camera descended, it showed nothing but cold, flawless stone, no roots, no insects, no moisture, just silence. At 100 feet, then 200, still nothing. But then the temperature began to drop, an anomaly according to the United States Geological Survey, which confirms that natural cave temperatures typically rise with depth due to geothermal energy. Instead, this pit grew colder. Suddenly, a faint flicker appeared on the feed, like a pulse. Moments later, a shadow passed across the screen. The glow came and went like a heartbeat, recalled Elias Mercer, the geology student operating the winch. By 300 feet, the glow intensified, brighter, unnatural, and possibly artificial. The infrared feed began to glitch, and a smooth, fast-moving shape crossed the frame, too fluid to be human. "It didn't move like a person," said one crew member. But we all saw it. Then came the sound, a deep vibration, followed by a guttural whisper. It wasn't wind, and it wasn't mechanical. It felt intentional. As tension peaked, someone screamed. The camera jolted. The cable buckled. Something had touched it, pulled it. The team hit the emergency retraction. The feed flickered, then went dark. Though the equipment was recovered, The final seconds of footage were corrupted and unreadable. No explanation. Only silence. The team left the site that night shaken. And some, they say, never returned. So what was really at the bottom of MEL'S hole? Some said geological. Others believed paranormal. But one theory took hold quickly. The government already knew. MEL'S discovery, many believed, wasn't new at all. It was a breach in a long-buried secret. Online researchers began connecting the dots. Could the site have been linked to classified weapons tests or failed underground tech? The U.S. Air Force had conducted subterranean experiments in the Pacific Northwest, and the Hanford site, a nuclear waste zone, sits just 80 miles from the area. If the hole truly extended 15 miles, it couldn't be natural, said Dr. Harold Simmons, a geotechnical engineer, in a 2024 issue of American Earthworks Journal. No known geological formation could stay intact at that depth. If it exists, someone reinforced it. Before MEL vanished, he contacted a Native American elder in Nevada who described another hole, similar in size but metal-lined and unnaturally hot. MEL and a small team went to investigate. They dropped in rocks, tools, and nothing was returned. Then a local rancher suggested they lower a sheep. When they pulled it up, it was dead but externally untouched. Internally, its organs were cooked. After the sheep, the crystal, and the unexplainable depth, MEL waters vanished. No sightings, no forwarding address, not even a whisper across the forums that once documented his every word. Then in 2002, he resurfaced just once. His voice returned to Coast AM nearly 5 years after his last broadcast. But something was off. MEL sounded hesitant, disoriented, like a man unsure of his own reality. He claimed he had been taken, blindfolded, sedated, and transported to a location he couldn't identify. He described weeks of confusion, lost time, and unexplained procedures. When he woke, there were small scars on his chest, his back, and a triangle of dots behind his ear. "They didn't just watch me," he said. "They changed me." MEL confessed he suffered memory lapses, sometimes losing entire days, and he didn't know if he was even allowed to speak. Then, just before the show cut to commercial, he said something that would leave a lasting chill. There are more holes, all over the world. This is just the beginning. When the program returned, MEL was gone. The line had gone dead. He never called again. According to a report by the International Center for Missing Persons, 1 in every 300 adult disappearance cases now involves individuals who leave behind no digital footprint, no official record, and no legal closure, but MEL waters among them. No gravestone, no death certificate, no trace. The land he once called home remains sealed. Satellite maps still blur the area, and the mystery only grows. Was it all a hoax, a cover-up, or something buried that was never meant to be unearthed? MEL never claimed to be a prophet or a scientist, just a man who found something strange. And now we ask you, was MEL'S hole a myth, a warning, or a truth suppressed by design? Let us know in the comments. The story isn't finished. The truth is still unfolding. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I hope you'll love this content. Comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.